What's going on, good people? It's your girl, Dr. Brown, baby, and the one and only.
You already know what it is. What's happening, folks? It's the outcast of podcast, the doggone king of the south side of the ATL. It's just good old Mr. Marcus chilling on this lovely Sunday. What's going on, people?
Woo! Now, how are you today, sir? You sounding lively today. I like that energy.
Because it's hot still. Look, it's the same thing we've had the last 3 weeks, man. It is scorching hot. It was like 100 degrees yesterday, and then we had thunderstorms immediately thereafter. Like, it's been wild.
Yeah. No, it has been wild, and it's funny because you go between trying to run away from the scorching heat to running away from the storms and deadly lightning that comes and tries to attack your life. So, running between the two.
And it was almost instantaneous. It went from like sunny to like, whoa, it's a little cloudy to, oh my gosh, the bottom was falling out.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes. So yeah. Staying safe out there, always.
Exactly. So you went out in the streets when it went down, were you?
Nah, man.
I know a lot of the hip hop 50 festivals are going down.
No, and I wanted to, and I was gonna go, but I couldn't find nobody to go with me, and then I fell asleep.
It's all good. Sorry about that. Couldn't find anybody. You know how it is. I had a feeling that weather was going to be rough anyway.
It was. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was.
Hang tight.
Yeah. Yeah, but to your point, though, shout out hip hop, 50 years old. That's awesome.
50. I think all that. I don't know. That stuff came out of nowhere for me. I feel like that was all propaganda. You know what I'm saying? We ain't heard nothing about hip hop at 50. Then all of a sudden, everything on television and T-shirts and all these old rappers is popping up. I saw a picture of MC Shan and Nas, and MC Shan was like 70 with no fucking teeth. It's like, damn, am I that old? You hadn't seen that picture? I have to send it to you. Like MC Shan.
I haven't seen that picture, but it's definitely coordinated. It's definitely organized and been marketed. So I can't disagree with that, but I'm still excited.
Right, yeah, and then seeing people pop up like I'm seeing Ice Cube getting a lot of homage all of a sudden again. And I'm like, yeah. y'all have the attention span of a damn goldfish, I swear.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a great opportunity to kind of bring some things to the fold and have those deeper conversations. But one thing I did. No, but there's one article that I saw was talking about how many like rappers have died or like didn't make it to 50, and I was actually I wasn't surprised, but I was kind of surprised that was the angle they went for the 50 years. I think there were like several others that could have been considered.
Right, I'm sure at the 50th rock and roll show or the 50th anniversary punk rock show, they're going to go down a list of all the punk rockers that didn't make it to 50. It's like it's certain stuff like that they only apply to us that pisses me off. But like you said, it's another story for another day. It's just funny how the media just picks that time to say, hey, listen to me, how many of these guys died before they turned 50. Let's do it the wrestlers then, Mickey Fiki. I'm just saying, if you try hard enough, you can find anything where people don't live a long time. And speaking of not living a long time, somebody has got to be stressed out down in Mar-a-Lago, Florida, because the trials and tribulations of the former president of the United States continue. And I'm, for one, I'm very happy about it because he's literally living in the finding out stage after he fucked around for 4 years. And I guess we could start with the protective order that was put in place on Friday by the Judge Chutkin. Long story short, the Department of Justice is looking to make sure Donald Trump doesn't Donald Trump this case, i.e. they want to make sure he's not intimidating the witnesses. They want to make sure he's not disclosing secure, classified information. They want to make sure that he doesn't Donald Trump this situation. And being Donald Trump, he's trying his best. He's already threatened Jack Smith. He's already threatened the judge and talked about how he can't get a free trial. And essentially, he was brought into the court on Friday. And the judge told him, you do have the right to free speech. However, that right is not absolute. And because you're running a campaign and running for president doesn't have anything to do with these criminal proceedings. I'm going to proceed the way I would with any criminal. And if you act a damn fool, you're going to find out. And that kind of brings me to a point or one thing that I've been kind of dealing with myself all week. And it's just like I've been watching MSNBC, CNN, and I'm seeing white people clutching their pearls. They are scared. They are frightened. They are kind of deterred. They're kind of concerned because what they're worried about right now is what happens if Donald Trump doesn't follow the protective order. What happens if Donald Trump says, I'm going to attack a witness, or I'm going to attack the judge, or I'm going to influence the jury pool, and I'm going to do it on Truth Social? What happens? Well, the same thing that would happen if Dr. Brown disagreed with the judge's order, same thing that happened to Mr. Marcus went and did the opposite of what a judge told me to do. They will lock my black ass up. And for the life of me, I cannot understand all the pearl clutching, even from people on the so-called left, about what's going to happen when he inevitably breaks this judge's protective order and she's forced to bring him to the table. And let me tell all y'all something. That black woman who's earned everything she's gotten in her life, who's earned every A, who's won every case on merit, who's done everything the right way because she had to, because she's a black judge, because we don't get to make those Hunter Biden and Donald Trump Jr. mistakes. Nah, we got to walk that thin line all the way through. She's going to treat his ass the same way she would treat either one of us. And the minute he breaks her protective order, his ass is going to pay the circumstances. Y'all have to stop with this. What are we going to do about Donald Trump and what's going to happen with these angry white folks? They're going to get dealt with like everybody the fuck else. Get over this shit. This is madness. That man broke every law known to man. He literally ran a crime spree from the Oval Office. At some point, you have to pay the piper. You don't get to overthrow the government and say, hey, it was all political. It was all political.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you really don't. And I think you're right. These court cases are a prelude to getting dealt with. I mean, like, he's no newcomer to court cases, but I think he's new to court cases in this context as this former leader, having done these particular crimes, you know, that they happen. Now that's what makes it fun and exciting. So, but I mean, like, yeah, no, it's all here, and all of these folks can't be wrong at some point. You know what I mean? So.
Right, and my thing about the pearl clutching and the what about the lovers of Donald Trump? Look, if you are so ignorant, you're not smart enough to see that, hey, you're not allowed to take classified documents home, and then if you do take stolen classified documents home, you're not allowed to lie about it for a year and a half. And just because you're running for president doesn't mean that you cannot be held accountable for stealing classified documents and lying about it for a year and a half. Also, when you remember the last 6 months you were in office, last 8 months you were in office, you spent that entire time trying to overthrow said government. You have to pay the piper for this. Your running from office don't have a goddamn thing to do with it. Nothing. Let's stop talking about this man running for office.
No, and if everybody else has been paying the piper this entire time, like, there's literally precedent on our side. Like, this isn't new.
Literally.
Shit that he's gotten away with, folks have done time for less. And so, like, this isn't new, like you're saying. This isn't some crazy idea where, like, oh my God, this has never happened before. It happens to the best, it happens to the worst. It does happen, and it will happen. And I got my popcorn out. I think I'm ready.
Amen, because you got to think about the fact we even have the playbook, that's why I know Judge Chutkin and whoever he gets in Georgia are not going to play that shit. Everybody knows he's trying to delay it in hopes he wins and he can pardon himself. Right. So every freaking move they make in court is solely to delay justice. Fuck no. Yeah. He's trying to say that he doesn't want a speedy trial now. His lawyers are saying he doesn't need to have a speedy trial. They need to take as long as possible. Well, and I find that hilarious, right?
It's obstruction of justice, which is the whole reason why we're here.
Listen, the only thing in the Constitution that has affected him is the right to a speedy trial. And that's the only thing he wants to overthrow. That tells you everything about these people.
Yeah,
right? Does. If you care about the Constitution, if everything's constitutional, why is the only thing he's trying to throw out is the constitutional right to a speedy trial? It's because the motherfucker don't care about the Constitution. Everything's about him. And y'all have to figure this shit out. And more of us have to come to terms with the fact that if I don't start participating in what's going on, we're going to lose a whole lot more than just bragging rights, because a lot's on the line. And speaking of more of those trials and tribulations, Fani Willis is on her way to delivering her grand jury indictment of Donald Trump. They're saying probably a dozen or more people are going to go down in the fake elector scheme here in Georgia. And for those who don't remember that, that's when Donald Trump called our Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and told Brad that, Brad, I just need you to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have. Find, not count, but find votes. Where is he going to find votes? Here, currently, he was supposed to pull them out his ass. But yeah, so Fani has her grand jury this week, and Trump will probably be indicted on charges on that by the end of this week. How you feeling, Dark? Justice is moving slow, but justice is finally moving.
But justice is more like, I feel like a turtle in the situation. And justice has different speeds for different things. But one thing we can count on is it takes mainly forever. And so it has taken time. This has been building for several years now. And I think that it's okay. And I think that once these trials and once these charges are laid out, there's a lot of research has gone into it, a lot of building cases, a lot of development, a lot of man hours have gone into this. So these aren't flimsy charges. It's not that they don't have any evidence. And so like once they come, they're going to come with it. And I think you're right. I think this is his moment to get dealt with. Because I mean, not now more than just like, oh, he's not qualified. He was on TV. He said some bad things. Now we have actually like receipts on what he actually tried to achieve before, during, and going and after the 2020 election.
And I think you said something that's incredibly important. You said these aren't flimsy charges, right? We can relate to somebody steals property, lies about it for a year and a half, and then when the government goes into their house to find said property, they find about 100 boxes worth. Right. That's real clear and concise. You weren't supposed to take it, you took it. They told you to give it back, you lied and said you didn't have it. They went to your house a year later and they found it. That's not complicated. The only way that's a conspiracy is if Joe Biden either made Donald Trump take that from the White House to his home, or if Joe Biden then planted those documents in Mar-a-Lago for a year and a half. You know what I mean? The overthrow of the government, the fake elector scheme, those dumbasses put all that in paper.
That's crazy.
Right. You put it on paper. You can't argue with emails and text messages that you put on paper.
No, you
can't. It's ridiculous. And then we're not supposed to arrest them for threatening judges and threatening witnesses. Is this the wild, wild west? So y'all telling me Donald Trump should be able to tell Mike Pitts, who's obviously going to be a witness against him in the January 6th trial, that you're a piece of shit and you weren't strong enough and I never lied. So he's able to just tell a witness that's testifying against him any fucking thing and bully his ass online. Come on, folks. Come on, man. Come on. It's got to be deeper than this. Y'all not finna tell me that we have law and order in this country, and then when a motherfucker deliberately breaks a protective order, y'all gonna feel like, well, he shouldn't get punished because of a job he used to have. Well, let's remember, he got indicted from that damn job. He got impeached from that job twice. So if he was doing any kind of good job at that, he wouldn't even be in the position he was in the first place. That's all I'm saying.
Well, as we know, whiteness shows up in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. It is audacious. Mm-hmm. It is audacious when you're talking about presidents and presidential powers and, First Amendment rights and declassifying documents. That's fine.
But go ahead, because it's about white. My question is about whiteness, but go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is it also shows up in Montgomery on a random day when people are trying to do boat things and have a nice Saturday, right? And
that's what I was going to ask you right there. So you got the whiteness of somebody who used to be president feeling like he can just say and do whatever he wants and break judicial orders and not suffer repercussions. But then we got your average Joe white person who thinks they can park their damn boat in the commercial parking spot for a damn public transportation boat area and not move their boat for 45 minutes with no repercussions.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Whiteness is not paying like it used to. Kind of exciting and intriguing, isn't it? A lot of the things the white folks used to get away with back in the day, outrageous shit that we all knew was outrageous, right? But we also knew the system didn't work the same for everybody. Now, all of a sudden, conservatives are starting to figure out that shit doesn't work the same for everybody, but they're trying to manipulate shit to make it work, right? I think that egos whiteness, white supremacy is the only thing that would let you think you could get away with certain things because you've seen it. It's not like we're the only ones that have seen it. The white folks have seen white folks get away with shit too, which is why these white folks in Montgomery thought they could get away with jumping a black man in front of an entire boat of people in a pier full of like people or whatever and get away with it. What's gonna happen? So,
and it was funny because like the first time I watched the video when it was going down, I'm like, this brother about to smack this dude down. And it's like an even fight. They jostling back and forth. And then, the little dude in red shorts comes in and kicks bruh. And you're like, wait a minute, motherfucker. And then like 2 or 3 other white dudes come in. You like, hey, hell no. Hey, y'all, you know what I'm saying? You watching the video, you yelling at the house like, hey, y'all do something about that shit. And then lo and behold, little bruh comes jumping in the water. And 2 or 3 brothers come down from the podium and all shit changed. And again, they fucked around and they found out too. But my thing is, like, what is going on in the water? On the TV shows that they're watching, man, that they think that they can act out in these outrageous fashion and just feel like nothing's gonna happen to them.
I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be white.
Right.
I never know what it's like to like flagrantly do some shit, lie, start crying, and get away with some shit.
Say some dumb shit like you're treating me like I'm black, and then we supposed to just act like we don't even hear and see what y'all know. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then to act like, oh, we're just gonna beat you and we're just gonna walk away and everyone else will be okay with that. I've never lived that life. So I don't know how I could have arrived or found myself in that situation. I thought this white woman on Instagram was really interesting. She was saying that, I mean, honestly, it's so clear that black folks just want to be left alone because like each of those white folks walked away alive from that dock yesterday. You know what I'm saying? And for like all that could have, should have gone down on that dock, things have gone down on that dock. Like historically, with selling of black folks and tearing up families, those black folks had every effing right to end those white folks, and they did not. And I think that's a good point. We if we wanted revenge, it would be a whole different ballgame. We literally just want to be left alone. If I think that, then there's something that comes with that.
But so much of their problem and so much of their fear is revenge, right? They've done so much for so long. They are terrified for the moment that they actually have to pay the piper for all the bullshit they've put us through for all these years. They feel like that day is coming. I think maybe that drives a lot of their fear now. They know that they're going to be the largest minority, but they're going to be a minority with the rest of us. You know what I mean? The old rules are dying, and they're seeing it every day. But that don't mean lose y'all shit. That don't mean start acting out of character and just become crazy, man. Because look, y'all ratchet it up, we're gonna ratchet it up even more. We're good.
But they don't know how to not be in charge. Or they've always considered themselves in charge, whether or not they were. But they don't know how to shut their mouths and not take up space and take orders from someone else. These are great lessons.
Great lessons.
Fucking lessons, yeah.
Because to us, it's like, when you hear the backstory, it's like, so they were illegally parked and they were asked for 45 minutes before someone actually tried to physically move their boat from point A to point B.
Black folks would have
45 minutes. Exactly. No. And I'm like, y'all holding up black folks on the boat for 45 minutes. Like the boat probably almost had a ride. There was probably almost a ride on the boat. The reason they finally said we have to move that boat before these people start beating our ass. You know what I'm saying?
There's people on there.
Right. Meanwhile, y'all over somewhere eating crawfish and fucking drinking Bud Lights and shit, causing a whole damn riot. Like crazy. Gotta do that.
White privilege.
Y'all better talk to y'all people. Now, on a less fortunate situation right now, we have a global disaster right now going on in Maui. They're having some wildfires due to the heat and the dryness, and it's bad. Darker, you want to speak on this just a little bit before we get into it?
I would just like to take this opportunity to share with folks a little bit about climate mitigation. So it's not just what we're putting out into the air and putting into the water, like it's part of our industries and our economy, but it's also about how we prepare for increasing climate disasters. If you don't prepare well, then the effects will be that much worse. And we know the effects are getting worse. In this situation in Maui, this had been building for a long time and a lot more could have been done. so that this result would not have been as bad as it was. But it wasn't mitigated with climate. It's getting hotter. So when you got a bunch of shit laying around and it gets hotter, it's going to burn up. 1 + 1 = 2.
You know, and it's scary because when you see the stories about this situation, you find out that the people in power, the political people, knew that this was a very real possibility, and they knew that they were not financially or resource laden heavy enough to prepare for the situation and handle it had it come about, and they just kind of coasted off of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just hoping we'll just avoid the inevitable. Let's hope the worst case scenario doesn't happen until it does. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the level of destruction, it's going to be years before Maui is back together. Years. Right. You know what I mean? And when you think about Hawaii's not a place that has a lot of land, right? So they import everything. That means that there's not enough. They're going to have to import lumber to rebuild everything, sheetrock, but they have to build everything back. You know what I mean? So there's not going to be enough resources to build everything all at once.
Right.
It's just a tough situation, man. It's going to be very expensive to build that back. And I know people don't like to invest in things that they can't see. It's hard to say, hey, we need $20 million for this project that may not ever benefit us. But if it does benefit us, it'll be the greatest benefit ever. But we have to get past that, and we have to start making those sacrifices. Because when things like this happen, you're losing a whole community. Again, this isn't an overnight fix. You can have the best insurance in the world, but until the supplies get from the mainland to Hawaii, what the fuck can happen? Meanwhile, people are hungry, starving, and homeless.
But the thing is, that people can see. Yes, you can see the climate is really bad. The people in Maui knew the conditions were bad, so they saw it too. So, and again, this whole notion of like you have to be a scientist or you have to like know things to be able to see climate is ridiculous. All the warning signs are on the wall. Just with the gun stuff also, a lot of these folks who shoot up churches and blah, 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 the writing has been on the wall. So people just don't give a fuck. They don't want to do anything because they don't want to be preempted. They want to be post. They want to come in at the end. And really, there's a lot of benefits that come in the end, right? Because then you're needed. And this whole like, savior and this whole like, you know, rescue thing that we have in this country trying to help everybody versus we do stuff on the front end so we don't have to deal with those impacts. Same thing here in Georgia. We do not need another freeway lane in Georgia, but every time we get to have some traffic, that means we get to have more lanes because the white boys love to pay their homeboys and make more lanes. It's more of the same thing. Right. In order to get rid of plastic bags, you make more plastic bags, right? No, that is not the answer.
But, you know, maybe that's just a capitalistic point of view, right? It's like you don't fix crime, you just build more drugs. build more jails. You don't fix traffic, you just build more lanes. It's capitalism. You just throw more at it and hope it fixes itself. But it's when it comes to climate change, it's just not fixing itself. I love to talk about how we used to have winters here in Georgia. And if you live in Georgia, you know we don't have winter anymore.
It's not the same.
Even if it does snow in Metro Atlanta, it snows at like February or March, some weird time where we're not even supposed to be having cold weather. You know what I mean? But like a regular ass winter, we don't have those anymore. People better wake up. Better wake up fast.
And you know, I don't know, Marcus. There's a lot at stake, and I think that it's, in my opinion, it's kind of to the point now where it's really hard to ignore like how ridiculous things are with Trump, how much money is going to other places that isn't coming into the U.S., how ridiculous the Supreme Court is, you know, how ridiculous climate change is, and it was so hot this summer.
Right. It seems like a lot is coming.
It was so hot this summer, and I just really. Right. And I just feel that if people are at least able and willing to see some of how some of these things are connected, we can maybe make some movement on some of this stuff.
Look, you have more faith and more hope than I do. Because, I mean, if we can't get people to pay attention to gun violence, you can't get people to pay attention to changes in the educational system, you can't get people to pay attention to global warming, you can't get people to pay attention to a person trying to overthrow the entire government. Like, the only thing people seem to pay attention to is Facebook and Twitter, and that's only for what's going on at that moment.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take in this country. I don't know. You would think that we'd be able to learn from the world wars and what fascism and the rise of fascism looks like. Let's see.
Right. Look, real briefly before we get out, from what I'm understanding, they're saying like a lot of right-wing people feel like fascism or authoritarianism is the great last frontier for them because they know numbers aren't on their side anymore. And if we can't beat them, we can try to oppress them. And it looks like that's where the Republican Party is headed.
Well, very Nazi Hitler of them.
Right. Very much so.
Yeah, but we're anti-Israel, right?
Right.
Hilarious.
Let them tell it. My goodness. What, Doc, you got anything before we get out of here, peoples?
I don't, man. I'm trying to get out here and get some more summer going in my life and keep working on my tan while I can.
We'll do the damn thing, folks. We might have something special for y'all next week, so tune in. You made it this far, like and subscribe. We appreciate y'all hanging with us. But in the meantime, until next time, folks, peace.
Bye.